Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Chelsea, and today we're going to be doing the first wrap up of the year. We're going to be wrapping up January. So in January I'm actually pretty impressed with my reading. I managed to read 9 books. There was a mixture of physical and all sorts, which I actually have the stats because I keep stats. So let's look at the stats because I never do this. We're trying to be more organised not just in the month of January, in the whole of 2024. So my stats for January. I read 9 books in total. My average rating was 3.5 stars, and I read 3,245 pages, which to me is already like amazing because I don't read 9 books, 3,000 pages, and see, God knows how this happened. Actually, I do know one thing that happened. I read a few of the shorter books for Sphinx, but also not all of these books on here are short. A lot of them, maybe, but I read some chunkers as well. I read 2 normal print books, I read 4 ebooks, and I listened to 3 audiobooks, which is very cool. And I'll tell you what my best book was at the end. And I pretty much just read fantasy this month. I didn't even read any sci-fi, so that's saying something. I feel like this planner, which is the Always Fully Booked planner, if you're ever wondering, this is my first year using this, and I am in love. It's got spaces for me to write reviews. I can put my star ratings, how I read them. I don't really use the monthly bit. This is not meant to be like a review section for this planner. I don't really use the planning section necessarily, so I think next year I might go for the vertical rather than the horizontal layout, because I feel like that might work better for me, but we'll see. We will see. Right, let's just get on to the books because that's why you're here. So the first one that I read was none other than Cold West by Clayton Snyder. This is a Spiffbo 9 finalist. I have a whole video dedicated to this, so I will link that up here for you to go and check out. Overall, personally, I gave this 2 stars. I was really on board for the first part of this book. And then towards the end, I mean, it makes sense because the character that we're in the head of becomes more chaotic. And his story becomes more chaotic and we're in his head. So the way he's seeing the world becomes more chaotic. I just wasn't down for it. I felt like it took a turn that I wasn't expecting it to. So 2 stars. I will say there were some points in this book where I was like, oh, and I really felt for the character. Because he went through a lot, if I'm honest. But yeah, it was just overall like, okay, you know? Not really the best way to start the month off, but that doesn't matter because from there I went on to One for My Enemy, which I can actually hold up for you because I have this one. It's this one for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I gave this 4 stars. This is essentially a Romeo and Juliet retelling. However, I didn't really feel like it was. It was almost as if, personally for me, it was almost as if Romeo and Juliet had younger siblings and we were watching their relationship flourish, because that is essentially what this is. In this book we are following 2 families. We get so many points of view, so if you love multiple points of view, this is probably a book for you. There is romance in it. I'm not a big romance reader, but I did really enjoy this. And I enjoyed just the twist on Romeo and Juliet. So we're following, like I said, 2 families. We've got the Antonova sisters, I think I'm saying that right, and the Fedorov brothers, both of which are families and the heads of their family. So the mother in the, I need to check that I'm saying that right, Antonova, there you go. The head of the Antonova family is a matriarch because they are all girls, they're all sisters, and the head of the Fedorov family is a man because they're all brothers. And both of these patriarch figures have started drug businesses. They're masked by other businesses as well, but they are both very big in the drug world. So the younger 2 siblings in this family meet at a chance encounter, Lev from the Fedorov brothers and Sasha from the Antonova sisters, and they hit it off quite a lot. And it's not until later that Lev finds out who Sasha is, and he's the only one that knows. To begin with, Sasha has no idea that he is from the rival family, only he knows. And his older brother says, you need to get closer to this girl, we need to take advantage of it, they're big players in this game. We need to find out some more. And that's what he does, reluctantly. I will say that I quite enjoyed the characters in this. As much as I'm not like a big romancy person, I really enjoyed the driving factors in this book. I enjoyed the different dynamics between all of the different characters. We meet pretty much every single one in the families. There is heartache, there's betrayal, there's love, there's lust, there's hate. There's so much, and I really enjoyed the ending as well, if I'm honest. So yeah, 4 stars, really enjoyed this. Then we've got another Spiff.9 finalist. Again, I'll link the whole video up here so you can hear blurbs and everything for it. But that was The Last Fang of God by Ryan Kirk. Again, I gave this 2 stars. I did not get on with this book. I did not feel like the writing style was one that I loved. I found the female main character in this book annoying. I liked the man, her dad, the male character in this book. I feel like a big part of why I didn't really enjoy this book is because the father and daughter dynamic in this was very much the father trying to do what he thought was best for his daughter, and his daughter just being annoyed and acting quite childish. I know she was 16, but in my opinion, still acting really young and giving him a very hard time when it didn't necessarily need to be, and I didn't really enjoy that dynamic. The dynamic got better throughout the book, but personally it just grated on me. But yeah, it was alright. Wouldn't pick it up again. Then we've got my first 5-star of the year, and I don't really know if it counts because it's a reread, and that's The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas. I am becoming a Maas girly, or I'm trying to, I think. I don't know. I do enjoy her writing. I reread this. I started rereading this in like 2022. I've already read it once, and I had not picked it up again until 24. So it took me 2 years to finish off the last story and a half that I had left in this book. It's literally just novellas. But I gave it 5 stars. I forgot how much the last story especially makes you feel. Well, the last 2 stories actually, how they make you feel. I know a lot of people might not agree, and that's cool because not everyone gels with novellas, but because this is a bind up of like, is it 4 or 5 novellas that are like in here? So it's 5 novellas in here that showcase Selena Sardathian's story up until Throne of Glass starts. So I feel as though this is just so much backstory, and they all are correlated, they all link, whether you read this first or you read Throne of Glass first and then come back to this later, however you wish to read it. I think this is a really good set of novellas. This is how it should be done, in my opinion. So I gave it 5 stars because I really loved it. And yeah, it made me feel things, which is saying something because I don't often feel things. I'm a bit heartless, but I really loved this one. And then from there, I obviously picked up Queen of Shadows, also by Sarah J Maas. I gave this 4 stars. It just kind of missed out on a 5 for me, but I think the rest of the series has been a 4-star series. It's just for reasons, The Assassin's Blade just gets a little bit more, you know? But I really enjoyed this. I can't say anything really about this because it's the 4th book in this series. And it's a chunker. I read this in a weekend. I was very proud of myself. I read this as part of Final Book Support Group that's hosted by Steph Loves, and I'm so glad I managed to read it. This is the first time I've actually progressed past where I got to last time. I did think maybe when I finished Assassin's Blade I'd go back to the start and read Throne of Glass again, but I was like, no, let's just carry on, otherwise we're never going to finish this series. So glad I picked this up. I've got the sequel to it, or the last 3 books on my TBR, and I want to start them like now, but I have so many other things to read that I just like can't. But I also kind of don't want to go into House of Flame and Shadow without having read the Throne of Glass series and the Akatar series, but they're big books. Big books. But anyways, moving on from there, I read another well-known author in the YA circles, but this time their adult debut, and that is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. This was 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I did not expect Cassandra Clare to write so well for me as an adult. I enjoyed the City of Glass series that I read. I think I read 4 books. I do want to read the whole of the thing. at some point. I've got all of the books on my shelves, I just need to do it. But I really enjoyed this as a different experience in Cassandra Clare's writing that has nothing to do with the Shadowhunter series. And I was really impressed, if I'm honest. So this book we're following just two perspectives, and that is Kel and Lynn. Lynn is an Ashkari physician. Wow, that word is hard to say after a day of work. And the Ashkari are the only ones that have the ability to tap into whatever is remaining magically in the world through trinkets and amulets, and they're kind of shunned for this. They have their own space in this city that has walls, they have curfews, they have to wear specific coloured clothing. It's very segregated, but the Ashkari healers are top notch. People go out of their way to get an Ashkari healer. However, Lynn is the first female healer, so she gets some funny looks a lot of the time. Then we've got Kel, and Kel is the sword catcher. Now, to be a sword catcher, that means you are the double of the prince, and you step in when his life is in danger or it's being threatened. So there are times that Kel has stepped in and through the use of magic has managed to transform himself to look like Connor the Prince, and he has done speeches for Connor. He wears the same things as him when they go out in public for big events, and he is there ready to step in at the drop of the hat the minute any whiff of danger happens. And I really enjoyed exploring, one, the backstory of Kel and Connor, and two, just the relationship of these characters and how they do bump into each other and how they gel throughout. I'm really looking forward to the sequel of this book, actually, because it's left on a bit of a cliffhanger. I want to know what happens. I listened to this audibly. I really enjoyed that. But I'm so glad I actually have read this before the sequel has come out, if that makes sense, because there are so many new releases that I've got on my shelves that I pre-order special editions or whatever, and then I never read them. But now I know that I can actually pre-order a special edition of this sequel because I really enjoyed this, and I think it's just going to get better. I don't know how many books are planned for this series, but I will read all of them. Next, we've got the two short stories that I read for Sphinx. The first one being The Collector's Lost Things by Jessica A. McMinn. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was magical. I loved the fantasy element of it. I will say I lost interest towards the end. There was a romance element dropped into this that I wasn't a fan of. I'm not often bothered by romance, but I will say there are trigger warnings for this, for sexual assault. It's not described in full. It is a fade to black moment, but it is still there. Please bear that in mind if you go and read this book. And then the other one is a necromancer called Gam Gam by Adam Holcomb, and I gave this 3 stars. Now, this book is very fantastical. We're following our main character Mina, and as we meet her, she is running away from hunters that are hunting her for an unknown reason at that time, and she manages to run into Gam Gam, who is an elderly necromancer who is just learning her trade. This was a really nice, cozy, it's marked as cozy horror, but I wouldn't say it was very horror. But I understand why it's called horror, because it's got necromancy in it. But I will say it was a good read. I did enjoy it. I feel like I would have enjoyed this one more if it had more backstory, more context, more of a look into the magic system within this world. Overall, it's a good read. And then the final book that I read for January was The Heresy Within by Rob J. Hayes. I gave this 4 stars. There is going to be a full spoiler video of this book on my channel. If it's gone live when this goes up, I'll tag it here. I have a lot to say about this. I really enjoyed it. This book is definitely very grimdark. It's probably the most grimdark book I've read in a very long time. It doesn't shy away from anything. It doesn't shy away from sex, violence, gore. It's all in there, and if you like that sort of thing, definitely check this out. This is such a good book. It's a good start to the series as well. We're reading the whole series for It's All About Fantasy Book Club, which is always linked down below in my description if you want to check it out, that I host with Lisa. And yeah, it's just a really good time. Well, good in the loose loose term of phrase, but I did really enjoy it, and I'm actually looking forward to carrying on with the series. I know there's another series technically that joins in with this book. We're only reading the first 3 books, but I think we'll carry on the other ones like separately by ourselves, which I'm also excited for. But yeah, I thought that was a really good one. That was a really good one to end the month on. But there you go, there are the 9 books that I managed to read in the month of January. I can't believe the first month is over, and I can't believe how good a start I had to the year. I am hoping to keep up this momentum and either read the same amount of books or the same amount of pages every month. That would be pretty cool. So if I read less books, I want them to be chunkier, so I still read the same amount of pages. My goal is still 100 books, so that's something. I'm really enjoying that, but otherwise that is everything for today's video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. It really supports me and my channel. Leave me a comment down below if you've read any of these books. If you want to leave me an emoji, leave me any sword emojis for Swordcatcher, because Swordcatcher was actually my favourite book of the month so far, which is pretty impressive if I'm honest. If you want to see more of me, please consider subscribing down below and ring that notification bell to get notified every single time I upload new videos. I try and upload every Monday and Thursday, so be sure to stick around for more bookish content from me. But otherwise, that is everything for today's video. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye.